On a biting November afternoon in Chicago, Ethan Caldwell, a 44-year-old titan of finance, stood on the edge of despair. His tailored suit, now wrinkled from a brutal boardroom battle, couldn't hide the devastation in his eyes. Just 20 minutes earlier, his lifelong friend and business partner, Victor Kane, had executed a ruthless takeover of Caldwell Enterprises, a $250 million financial consulting firm Ethan had built from nothing. Forged documents, accusations of embezzlement, and a frozen bank account left Ethan with nothing but the clothes on his back. Worse, he just learned his wife Lauren had been entangled with Victor for nearly a year. As Ethan stumbled down Michigan Avenue, a small voice cut through the city's din. "Sir, can I pray for you?" He stopped, turning to see a girl, no older than 9, sitting on a worn blanket outside a gleaming bank. Her name was Grace, her clothes threadbare, her dark eyes radiating a warmth that clashed with the icy wind. She sat cross-legged, a tin can holding a few coins in front of her. "I don't think prayers can help me now, kid," Ethan muttered, his voice raw. "I've lost everything." Grace tilted her head, undeterred. "My name's Grace, and God listens to everybody, even when they feel like giving up." Ethan scoffed, but something in her gaze held him there. Grace. The name stung with irony. An hour ago, he'd found a USB drive slipped onto his desk by his loyal assistant Mia, containing evidence that could unravel Victor's betrayal. But the weight of his shattered marriage and stolen company crushed any hope of fighting back. "Don't you have anyone?" Ethan asked, crouching beside her. Grace shook her head. "Just my mom, but she's working double shifts. I've got faith, though. Sometimes that's all you need." His phone buzzed. Victor's name flashed on the screen. Ethan answered, forgetting to mute the speaker. "Enjoying your fall from grace, Ethan?" Victor's voice dripped with venom. "Lauren and I are toasting our new venture, business and personal." The call ended with a laugh that twisted Ethan's gut. Grace reached for his hand. "Can I pray for you now?" Ethan nodded, unable to explain why. As Grace closed her eyes and spoke, her words carried a quiet power. "God, Ethan's hurtin'. He feels lost. But you got a plan. Give him the strength to fight for what's right." Tears Ethan had fought all day spilled over, and with them came a clarity he hadn't felt in years. Victor and Lauren didn't know Ethan's past. Before his empire, he'd spent a decade as an SEC investigator dismantling corporate fraud. The USB from Mia wasn't just proof of betrayal. It held records of Victor's illicit deals, tying Caldwell Enterprises to a money laundering network linked to South American cartels. That evening, Ethan returned to his Gold Coast penthouse, soon to be claimed by Victor. Lauren was there, packing designer bags without a hint of shame. "Victor warned me you'd show up," she said, barely glancing at him. "You're out, Ethan. You were never ruthless enough for this world." "When did it start?" Ethan asked, his voice steady despite the ache. Lauren smirked. "When I saw you'd rather play it safe than seize real power. Victor's a visionary. You're just comfortable." His phone pinged. A text from Victor. "Enjoy your last night in luxury. Lauren and I will break in the penthouse tomorrow. Thanks for the empire." Attached was a photo of them together, Lauren's arm around Victor's waist. Ethan's stomach churned, but his eyes caught something else. A discarded frame in the trash. A photo of him and Lauren with their late dog, Riley, torn in half. Lauren had kept only her side. As she packed, Ethan quietly photographed documents she'd left out, property transfers, a prenup she thought he'd overlooked, and receipts from a PI she'd hired to dig into his finances. You can keep the lake house, Lauren tossed out. Victor says it's too quiet for us. That night, alone, Ethan opened a safe he hadn't touched in years. Inside were his SEC credentials, a private investigator's license, and a fire he thought he'd buried. The USB revealed Victor's scheme: 72 million funneled through shell companies, masked as legitimate investments. Ethan's system, built with hidden tracking codes, had logged every move Victor thought he'd concealed. The next morning, Ethan found Grace in her usual spot. "You feeling better?" she asked, her smile bright. "Different," Ethan said, sitting beside her. "Your prayer, it cleared my head." Grace arranged her coins. "God doesn't always fix things. Sometimes he shows you how to fight." Ethan's phone rang. Victor again. "Heard you've been wandering," Victor sneered. "Don't spread lies about the company. Your legal troubles could get worse." Ethan stayed calm. "Victor, you know me. Have I ever been reckless?" "Stay that way," Victor warned before hanging up. Grace watched him. "He's scared," she said. "Bad people always are when they're about to get caught." That afternoon, in a quiet Evanston diner, Mia slid a manila envelope across the table. "I could lose everything for this," she whispered. Inside were bank records, emails between Victor and a cartel fixer named Carlos Ruiz, and proof that Victor planned to frame Ethan for the laundering. "He's using your old college password," Mia added. "Riley 2001. Ethan's jaw tightened. He'd picked that password with Victor 2 decades ago. The second USB held emails between Victor and Lauren, plotting Ethan's ouster and threats to plant evidence on his laptop. At dusk, Ethan met Grace and her mother, Clara, at the square. Clara's eyes were wary, but kind. "Grace says you're in trouble," she said. "Yeah, your daughter gave me hope when I had none," Ethan replied. He offered them a rent-free apartment through a contact, no strings attached. Clara hesitated, but accepted, moved by Grace's trust. Ethan called an old SEC colleague, Agent Rachel Torres. "I've got evidence of a $72 million laundering operation," he said. "I need surveillance gear and a team by 1 p.m. tomorrow." "You're not an agent anymore," Rachel warned. "My PI license is active, and this is bigger than me." The next day, Ethan visited Grace one last time. "Today's the day," she said, her eyes gleaming. "You've got that look, like you're ready to do what's right." Ethan knelt. "Grace, you reminded me who I am. No matter what happens, that's because of you." At 1 p.m., Ethan walked into Caldwell Enterprises, a tiny FBI-issued recorder pinned to his lapel. Victor sat in Ethan's old chair, Carlos Ruiz at his side. "Didn't expect you," Victor said, his smile faltering. "Just grabbing some things," Ethan replied, setting his briefcase down. He pulled out copies of bank transfers, emails, and contracts. "Thought we could discuss these." Carlos's eyes narrowed. "Where'd you get those?" "My system," Ethan said. "I built it with traps you never saw." He leaned in. "I spent 10 years busting guys like you for the SEC. This conversation, it's streaming to the feds." Victor's face went white. Carlos reached for his jacket, but Ethan shook his head. "Snipers are across the street. Agents are downstairs." Agent Torres burst in with a team. "Victor Kane, Carlos Ruiz, you're under arrest for money laundering, fraud, and racketeering." Victor collapsed, sobbing, as cuffs snapped on. "Lauren was in on it," Victor blurted. "She's being arrested now," Ethan said. "Her emails with you were very detailed." As Victor was dragged away, Rachel nodded at Ethan. "72 million recovered. A cartel network exposed. You haven't lost your touch." 6 months later, Ethan stood in his new office at Caldwell Investigations, a firm dedicated to exposing corporate fraud. The Hope Fund, named for Grace, had housed 150 families and funded scholarships for kids like her. Grace and Clara now lived in a cozy Lincoln Park apartment, Grace thriving in a top school. At a gala for the fund's first graduates, Ethan spoke. "2 years ago, I thought I'd lost it all. A little girl named Grace showed me that loss can be the start of something bigger." In the crowd, Grace waved, her smile brighter than the city lights. Victor served a 20-year sentence. Lauren, shunned by her elite circle, worked odd jobs in Milwaukee. Ethan's victory wasn't their ruin. It was building a legacy of justice and compassion, sparked by a child's prayer on a cold Chicago street.